But yeah, guys, we're gonna move into our second topic, guys. This comes from the Hollywood Reporter, Hayden Christensen. So this is reliable, guys. This is a Hollywood trade. They know their stuff, so this is gonna happen. Hayden Christensen returning to Star Wars with the Ahsoka series. Well, it's already returning to Star Wars, but
Yeah,
it's gonna return
he's
again.
coming in Kenobi. God damn, he looks old.
That's
Sorry. Sorry, the wrinkles in his head were just like, oh my gosh.
the actor reprises role of Anakin Skywalker, aka Darth Vader, in Ahsoka, the latest Star Wars live-action series from Lucasfilm and Disney Plus. Multiple sources tell the Hollywood Reporter. Rosario Dawson is going to play the fan favorite character Ahsoka Tano, a Jedi Knight survivor, popular on the animation side of stores, made a live-action debut in the second season of The Mandalorian. I like what they did here. Plot details are being kept in the far reaches of the Outer Rim, but it is known that longtime Star Wars lightsaber wielder Dave Filoni is writing the series and executive producing with Jon Favreau. It's unclear how Skywalker, or that matter, Vader, will figure into the show since it's set 5 years after Return of the Jedi and subsequently Vader's death. So, Alex, there's a lot of interesting things I want to talk about. I want to first talk about my reaction to this. I was going to a hockey game, a minor league hockey team that's in my town, and I got this news, and I didn't cry, I'll say, but I had an emotional reaction because I love these two characters. These were like the first two characters I saw in any new piece of Star Wars media, and to see them, what will be probably 15 years after the Clone Wars movie came out, be together on a live action screen, I I'm gonna bawl my eyes out, and I'm not afraid to say that. I
Well,
love these characters.
here's my reaction is well, I didn't know that happened. You actually told me on TikTok that happened.
Yeah,
So,
right, right.
All Drew sent me was one word, and it was Hayden. I was just like, "What happened?" He was like, "You didn't hear about what happened?" I was like, "No. What happened? Did he die?" I was like actually confused. I didn't ask you if he died, but I was like, "Did he die or something?" Um, no. And then you told me about what happened. I was like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, crazy.
It's
Um,
crazy. It is. I'm so excited. He's finally come back in another show. Like what?
it brings up an interesting conversation that we're gonna have. But my
Mhm.
first point I want to make is like I thought about it today because I was thinking about the show today and what I was going to talk about, and I'm like, we haven't gotten Anakin stories past Return of the Jedi ever.
Nope.
This is going to be a continuation of Anakin's story, and it's what's really compelling to me is I don't think Anakin, even as the Force Ghost, has reached his full potential. Look at Yoda in The Last Jedi. How strong can Anakin Skywalker be? And
I
of
know.
course, I don't want Anakin to be the main focus. Like, I don't want him to be the main focus of the future of Star Wars, but just to have him as a side character, like, how powerful does he become as a
Yeah.
Force Ghost? So, my question to you, Alex, is then, how is he going to be utilized in Ahsoka?
Probably just like as a mentor figure.
Okay, so a Force Ghost.
Yeah. I think we'll also see flashbacks.
So,
However, it will be weird seeing Rosario Dawson as like young Ahsoka. Then I think they would honestly bring a recast for young Ahsoka and like all that. I could you see
we
her?
might see it in Obi-Wan.
I think we're going to also. Which like, could you imagine how huge that is? We
That's
get
massive.
I'll say this, and it's probably one of my biggest things with Star Wars I'm not a huge fan of, is we are getting very rare shout outs to the shows and whatnot. We get them, but they're not prominent and whatnot. Ahsoka was the first one where it was like, oh shit, it's Ahsoka
Right.
Tano from Clone Wars and Rebels.
Yeah.
Like this isn't some character like, oh, if you know, you know, if you don't, you don't.
Saw Gerrera.
Yeah, Saul Guerrera. Like he's like, if you didn't watch the Clone Wars TV show, who cares? He wasn't that interesting in the show. He appears in almost everything, by the way.
Yeah.
I think Ahsoka is no. The sequels are going to be the first thing where he never appeared or was mentioned. So
Right.
oof, we escaped him once, but he'll always come back. He'll always find a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just I think it's crazy like where we've gotten with this stuff. Like the fact that Disney is now it was one of the things that like while yeah, the main canon was Clone Wars in the movies, while George Lucas was in charge. They never felt connected. You had so many questions. Where was Rex? Where was Ahsoka? Where were all of these people that we meet in this TV show? Where were they? But Disney has come through, and yes, we were going to get more seasons. And I think we should. I think when we were talking about Clone Wars, I think did we talk about Clone Wars on the podcast? I don't think we
I
did.
don't think we ever have really.
No. It was one of those things that yes, we have to admit we were going to get more seasons of the Clone Wars without Disney. Disney stepped in and said to stop making the show.
Right.
And I think we can all say that bringing back Clone Wars was definitely a reactionary move to the fan backlash.
Well, you know who was a big person to bring it back was Kathy.
Yeah.
Dave Filoni talks about this, and I'm not the biggest fan of Kathleen Kennedy, but she's the reason it came back. Bob Iger's like, oh, it's animation. Like he didn't know how like immensely popular Star Wars animation was. Like I'll never forget when it was announced that it was coming back. It was crazy.
It was huge. It was a huge turning point for people.
And then that season 7, while some of the episodes are great, that final arc is fantastic. It's some of the best Star Wars.
It's easily better than almost all of the movies.
Yeah, it's probably the best Clone. It is the best Clone Wars arc. I'm gonna say it. It is the best.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely fighting Umbara, Mortis.
Yeah.
Trying to think off the top of my head. I haven't watched Clone Wars in forever. God.
The stuff with Maul and Savage is great. Yeah.
Ahsoka
Mandalore,
framed.
other Mandalore arcs. Yeah.
Ahsoka framed. D Squad.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Just so many good arcs in the show. But man, just the Mandalore arc, the Siege of Mandalore, it's going to be easily one of the most memorable things to happen to Star Wars of all time.
Right. And it was a perfect segue into Ahsoka's appearance in The Mandalore, which was fantastic.
Yeah. Which, it's crazy how actually perfect that was.
Yeah, it worked out. And there's a moment at the end of that episode where like she looks away as Din's flying away, and I thought for a second like, Anakin, where is he? Like I thought at that moment, and I remember I talked to you about this, Alex. I said you can't have the story of Ahsoka Tano without Anakin Skywalker. Like I felt like he had to be in the show, and to get it like basically officially confirmed is fantastic. And I think
let me ask you this. Anakin Skywalker is going to be in the show. Do you think Luke Skywalker is going to be in the show?
I'm going to say yes. And I think there's multiple possibilities I think that could happen. So we know, or we can kind of put the pieces together that Ahsoka hasn't gotten that closure with what happened to her master, what happened with Vader, like what happened there. So either she could get that. So Force Ghosts, I'm not sure how the lore works necessarily. They only manifest when do they only manifest? Isn't it like a certain time they can show up?
They can manifest at any time. Okay. It's hard talking about Force because at the end of the day, if I had to relate it to something like Marvel, they're like celestials. They're gods, basically. They are the god among gods. They experience time in one. They know what happened. They know what already happened, and they know what's going to happen.
Right.
So that's why this whole thing of they can't interfere is because if they interfere, they change things. They're going to change what happens.
Which would be really interesting down the line if they did something like that.
It's literally, that is honestly Star Wars' form of like timeline manipulation, is if the Force Ghost interferes. They're like the Watchers.
Right.
They know what can happen. They can give guidance, but they can't step in for you.
Okay.
And again, we see the power of Yoda as a Force Ghost. He's a god. He literally created a weather change and created a lightning storm.
Yeah, he interacted with we know Obi-Wan sat on a log, but Yoda interacted with the physical world.
He literally smacked Luke with his stick.
Yeah.
They can manifest into physical beings. They're not dead, but they're not alive either.
Right.
So it's something that it's a huge thing that I think honestly, I think that could be the biggest segue into a what if Star Wars show.
Right. The
Is
Force Ghost.
what if Yoda as a Force ghost intervened, or something like that? Because again, Star Wars, and I will say this, depending on who you talk to, some people will always try to say that the world between worlds is Star Wars is key to time travel and whatnot. It's not. That's not what it is. Get it out of your head. Star Wars and time travel. Pretty sure Dave Filoni said this multiple times. It just will never work. It won't make sense on a proper
Right.
story level.
Mm-hmm.
In technically the Force Ghost could create time travel and whatnot, because they could technically go back in time and prevent events from happening.
Yeah.
Because if you think about how Loki has the timeline in a circle,
Mm.
we kind of see that in the world between worlds, like
Hmm. Right.
infinite doorways to multiple events in time. So,
Yeah.
because here's the thing: is again, Star Wars doesn't have time travel in a way. It technically does, because Ahsoka tells uh Ezra that if he pulls Kanan out of the moment of that he dies, then everybody in the Phoenix crew dies. But that's not really time travel, because he kind of goes back in time and then resets time to that point, and then they kind of go from that point. It's
Right.
really it's really weird and finicky how time works in Star Wars, because when you think of time travel, you think of Barry Allen with running back in time.
The
With Flashpoint,
Avengers.
you think of the Avengers Endgame time travel, Back to the Future, how CW approaches time travel and other
Right.
things and whatnot, Loki and whatnot.
I'm
It's
just thinking
really
of it now. Do you think it'd be interesting if like Anakin somehow um like because I very much this is a want of mine, like Anakin's story to continue. Do you think Anakin could be like a problem as the Force Ghost, where like he does something that alters, like gets us
what
to the point that the sequels happen?
yeah. What if he intervenes at any point, like he tries to go back and stop himself from turning to the dark side?
Not even that, but just like in this timeline, what if he does something that causes like maybe he has a conversation with Ben because he
Yeah.
sees what's gonna happen. And it just turns Ben even worse. What if it's really Anakin's fault, which I think would be stupid, but it'd be really interesting concept.
But I also think that it would be in character of Anakin to want to prevent another him
Right.
happening,
Right. Try to
especially.
overcorrect
Oh
what
yeah,
his mistakes
but
were.
not
Yeah.
only that, not only correcting another version of him, another one of his bloodline becoming the
Yep.
second Vader in command of the galaxy.
Yeah.
It's like he. I feel like that would be honestly super in character for Anakin to want to stop something before it happens.
Right.
And I think that would honestly lend more to me liking Revenge of the Sith, is if we saw that kind of consistency with
Mm-hmm.
Anakin, is if we see like he's like, oh no, I like have to stop this like right now,
Mm-hmm.
because like I think that would just be super interesting, because
Yeah.
like the world between worlds is basically like when Ezra and Ahsoka are in there, they're in the form of Force ghosts at that point, because they're seeing time happen as it all. We hear them hearing things from the sequel trilogy, from Rogue One, from the original trilogy. They're hearing things from the prequels and whatnot. It's it's things where time travel is just super weird, super finicky, and I don't think Star Wars will ever go down the road of time travel. Um, I do want to ask, however, do you think we could ever see a character become a Force ghost and then get resurrected? We see this happen a lot in Legends with character resurrection in like
Maybe
really weird, odd.
far down the line, but not now.
And let me
But
also ask you a follow up to that. Do you think we will ever get time travel in Star Wars?
I'm not a big fan of the world between worlds because this conversation, like even the fact that time travel even gets brought up is because of the world between worlds, and it's one of my
Yeah.
biggest problems with Rebels. So no, I don't
Well,
think we see it.
I don't.
Dave Filoni has said that he's not using the world between worlds again. That's a one time thing.
Well, I don't. I don't know. I think he'll definitely bring them back.
I hope not. If it's in Ahsoka, I will.
I do.
I'm not gonna
I
hate the show,
I
but I
I
just
don't
don't like
think
it.
I don't think Ahsoka's the appropriate place, but I think in like a Rebel sequel and whatnot, going visiting that and whatnot, like it's like, do you ever think we'll get that kind of like Kang the Conqueror character? Because
Wouldn't it be Palpatine?
not really though. You can literally make it anybody.
Yeah.
Because,
Well,
like, here's the thing. You know how Star Wars fans are with power scaling and whatnot. You hear people talk up and down how Nihilus is one of the most powerful Sith because he can eat a planet. Let's be real. If you played KOTOR 2, you know he's the biggest bitch in the planet. Like, that man dies so easily. Like,
Revan slaps him, bro. Like literally.
no, literally, you hear Nihilus's story like, oh, he died, but then got resurrected into his cloak, into his mask, and he eats planets to survive. It's like, yeah, but my man got folded in a fight with Revan.
Yeah.
And your character in KOTOR 2 slaps him in a fight.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. He's
Like
overrated.
it's another thing with like Darth Sion and Darth Treya, even Malik and Revan to a degree. They're overrated in terms of their power. They're powerful. Like Malik and Revan are powerful. They're probably on the scale of probably like someone like Obi-Wan or Ahsoka or Ezra. Ezra more specifically, in terms of their potential power. But my guy, those people get folded in almost every fight they're in. Like,
Right.
so, like in terms of the one person who I would say are the two characters in Legends who easily fit their power scale, where Star Wars tends to put them, is Satil Shan and Darth Malgus. They fit their power scale. Satil Shan, I'm telling you now, would clap any single Jedi in canon. It would literally be like it would be a nasty fight. And Malgus would clap any Sith.
Yeah. But to get off, like, I guess the old Republic and like this time travel conversation, to get back to the original premise, which was about Hayden returning
I don't know how we got to that point, but we did.
as a Force ghost. So what I was gonna say at one point, well, we got from Luke and then we went
Yeah.
all over the place, but I love it. Um, I think there's two ways they're gonna go with it. The closure for Ahsoka, like with Hayden, I would cry. Um, and then I also think there could be a chance that Anakin talks about his son and says, "I have a son and I have a daughter too, and
Yeah.
I think you should meet him." Like he says, you should meet him, but he knows they already meet at some point. Like you should meet them.
Yeah.
Um,
It's so it's weird because Ahsoka is a mini series. Like that was confirmed a mini series,
yeah,
right? I,
right.
I wish it was a multi series, bro. I wish it was multiple seasons.
They got it all mapped out. I'm
I
not gonna
know.
complain.
It's the Filoni, it's the Mandoverse. I'm not complaining. Which like I'm honestly like I'm so excited. Like we are getting a lot next year. Like it's really weird how Star Wars is. We have the High Republic in one area, like we have the I don't know if fans call it the High Republic verse because it's in its own like little pocket part of Star Wars. But then we're weirdly, I don't know what it is about Star Wars or Disney specifically in this 10-year gap after Revenge of the Sith and 9 years before A New Hope. We have Rebels in this time. We have Kenobi. We're gonna have Andor. Is Solo around this time also? It's like what is happening here?
And then now we're hyper fixated on 5 years after Return of the Jedi, which
Yeah,
I'm excited
yeah.
for
And
because it
then
feels like
yeah,
another version of Clone Wars, like another version of
mhm,
stories in between movies,
yeah.
which I love.
Although it's not going to be as big, we have the Bad Batch and Clone Wars picking up right off of each other.
Right?
It's like, yeah, it's like I wish I wish we got to a point where I know we never will, just because Disney Plus would never do this. I wish we got to a point like how the CW was, where every so often we would have this huge crossover event, but still every week episodes of each show were releasing. Like I don't know if this is how it was. I think like Mondays, The Flash came
Oh
out,
yeah, I know what you're
and then
saying.
Wednesday, I think Supergirl came out, and then I think Friday Arrow came out. So you could time them up. So Monday you'd get part one of a cross, and then I don't remember when Legends of Tomorrow and Vixen and all them came out.
Yeah,
But
I know what you're saying.
you could easily have these like things going on and whatnot. And I wish we would get that. I wish we didn't have to have like a big tie-in for one show.
Yeah,
Like
I get that. I get that.
I wish we would get like the second Siege of Mandalore Part 1 in The Mandalorian Season 3. The second Siege of Mandalore in The Book of Boba Fett. The second Siege of Mandalore in Ahsoka. And then have it culminate in a movie or something.
Yeah, I've got trust in Filoni and Favreau, so like I'm not even. I know you do too, but I know you're just thinking like
Yeah,
talk about what you would like to see, but
yeah, I
I'm not
trust
even
them
gonna
too.
stress about that.
I'm assuming it's probably just gonna be like a building blocks. Like Ahsoka's gonna build off of Mandalorian, and then or Book of Boba Fett, and then it's just gonna go like
Yeah,
this, and then it's gonna culminate. I'm assuming that's what they're gonna do, but I wish they would kind of take the approach of like the CW, where it's one show has the part one show has the part two, and then one show has the part three.
Do you got any final thoughts on Hayden coming back? I feel like you talked
Um,
about everything
I
else,
know.
but
I know, and it's just because that conversation brings back so much because of the Anakin character and
right,
what would he do as a Force ghost.
right, which
Um,
was a great conversation.
I know.
Yeah, it was.
I'm excited. I'm happy he's back. I'm happy he's gonna be coming back frequently now. So
Yeah, oh yeah, I think he
super
loves being in Star Wars. I just think
super
he loves it
excited.
now.
Yeah, I think he also loves it because the fans love him now.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
That
Um,
would be a huge perk. So
the
why am I?
question is, well, the question is for you guys. What do you think about Hayden returning in Ahsoka? Do you think he will return in more projects? Do you think his Force Ghost alters the course of the Star Wars universe as we know it? Is that why the sequels happen the way they do? Let us know what you think down
No,
below
no,
about what's going to happen.